The verdict is out. You may have seen the headlines. There's a global slowdown. But India remains the fastest growing major economy. Between January and March, the Indian economy grew at 6.1%. That's better than expectations. Just look at how the rest of the world is doing. Europe's largest economy, Germany, is in a recession. The world's largest economy, the US, seems to have dodged a default. But growth still remains sluggish. There's grim news from the UK too. Inflation is rising at record pace. There's a cost of living crisis. Lawmakers are considering drastic measures, including price controls. That's how bad things are. So leading countries are dragging down global growth. But India is able to weather the storm. How? What's working for the Indian economy? And what are the challenges ahead? Yes, India is faring much better than the rest. The challenge is to maintain this growth. After all, India is not completely isolated from global headwinds. What are the risks ahead? Tonight, we'll bring you a 360-degree assessment. Let's start with what's working for India. There are four key drivers of growth: manufacturing, construction, agriculture, and financial services. These sectors are fueling India's growth. All four have seen an expansion, a fall in oil and food prices. This has helped the manufacturing sector. Government spending has boosted construction, and there's a greater demand for financial services. Again, a sign of healthy economic activity. What about the future? Can India sustain this level of growth? Well, at the moment, it's difficult to predict, especially when we talk about a large and complex economy like India. But we'll try. Early signals are looking good. There are few things working in India's favor. Car, steel and power consumption was up in April. That's a positive sign. It points towards improving economic activity and sustained growth. So, we can expect manufacturing to do well. Forecasts for the monsoon season are also looking good. Experts say there'll be a normal monsoon this year. So, the agriculture sector has a reason to cheer. After all, it accounts for 14% of India's economy, but is also responsible for 42% of employment. That's why India's farms are so crucial for the Indian economy. We hope they have a good harvest this season. Now let's look at the big picture. How will the rest of the year pan out? So far, it's looking good. The full year growth estimate has been revised. Earlier, it was 7%. Now, it's 7.2%. But there are risks too. The Indian economy is not completely immune to global challenges. We've touched on this briefly in the past too. The global picture is looking grim. Germany's recession is putting pressure on Europe. In America, the US central bank isn't ruling out a mild recession. China was supposed to be on a recovery path, but it is stuttering. Countries like Singapore are reporting a contraction too. So how do these developments impact India? For starters, exports from India might fall. In fact, it's happening already. I have some data. Merchandise exports have shrunk by 3.7%. In April this year, goods contracted further by 12.7%. What explains this downturn? When there's a slowdown, it affects consumer spending. People like you and I, we tend to shop less. There's less demand, so exports will fall. That's how a global slowdown will affect India. There are some domestic challenges too, like the weakness in private consumption. What's that? We're talking about purchases made by households. They remain sluggish. It grew by just 2.8% in the last quarter, so there's scope to improve. For now, this doesn't affect the broad trend. To conclude with, the Indian economy is on a positive growth path. It is rising as the new economic powerhouse. The challenge now is to sustain that growth.